Hey, and welcome to Sonic Digressions. Today I'm going to be exploring destructive sound design techniques, so if you're in the mood to irreversibly destroy some audio, keep watching to find out more. This episode is inspired by a conversation that I had a while ago with sound designer Matthew Florians. If you haven't checked out his channel Game Audio Toolkit already, I'd suggest you do so because it's a wealth of information on game audio implementation and just sound design in general. We were talking about destructive sound design techniques. You know, the process of rendering down effects chains or sounds so that you restrict yourself to one creative direction. So this is something that I like to do quite often because it helps me focus on the bigger picture rather than getting too bogged down in the nitty-gritty elements that actually don't make that much of a difference. At one point, Matthew mentioned that he used to compose music in a similar manner by using a wave editor such as SoundForge to arrange his tracks. Now, this is something I've heard of people doing before, but it's not something I ever really explored myself. So I thought it might be an interesting creative exercise to ditch my DAW and do some sound design using only a single track wave editor. With this in mind, I set myself a task. I was going to create a set of explosion sweetener sounds, something that can be used to augment or enhance the sound of existing explosions. And I was going to do it exclusively using a single track wave editor. In my case, I chose iZotope RX. Now, while it's not a traditional wave editor per se, I thought it might be an interesting exercise to use an application that's used for repair for something so destructive. The recordings I'm using today are courtesy of this little box, which is a small kit-build Arduino-based synthesizer called a Nepulophone, which I've housed in this little enclosure. I'll post a link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself, but essentially I'm just processing this through a delay, a reverb, and a fuzz pedal for added effect. Here's what it sounds like. With my recording in the bag, I spent some time sifting through all 45 minutes of material, picking out regions that I thought might be useful as raw source for explosion sweetener sound effects. I then used RX's option to export regions to files. Each of these files would be a canvas for the sound effects that I would create. All that was left to do was start sculpting. Before I begin, one quick point about my methodology here. I tried to give myself a rough framework by breaking these explosion sounds down into 3 separate elements. The first was a sweep, basically something that would help build anticipation. The second is the transient. This would be the main sync point for the explosion and provides the explosive punch. And the final element would be the tail, essentially the sound that falls off after the main transient crack. Of course, this is just a rough guide, and I have complete freedom to break away from this should inspiration strike. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole process here because, frankly, there was a lot of trial and error and it doesn't make for riveting viewing. But that said, there were a couple of tips and tricks that I picked up along the way that might be useful. So, here they are. One great thing about this process is that it forces you to be ruthless. Here, I'm chopping up, rearranging, and simply deleting sections of this clip that I don't like. Also, it encourages you to think horizontally and not vertically. So instead of finding more elements to layer on top of a sound, I'm thinking more about how this sound unfolds over time to tell a story. Now, this might seem obvious, but it's not something you would generally do naturally in a multi-track DAW. With this process, I found some of my best results came from simply copying, pasting, reversing, or duplicating audio. In some ways, I found this process more comparable to working with analog tape than working in a DAW, and one of the great things you can do with tape is vary the speed to alter the pitch. This is something I'm replicating here by using RX's variable pitch and time options to warp sections of audio in fun and interesting ways. One great piece of advice here is that our ears are better at picking up modulating sounds than static ones, so if you want to avoid things getting lost in a busy mix, varying the pitch will really help. One big limitation I found with using RX is that it doesn't have an ability to crossfade. So in order to get around this, I tried using the spectral repair tool to somehow smudge two sounds together. The result of this was nothing at all like a crossfade, but occasionally did produce some really interesting textural sounds that would take me off in another creative direction. Here's an example of how that sounds. Some of the best tools available to sound designers come in the form of plugins, and it's good to know that most wave editors will allow you to use plugins too. However, I discovered that the approach to using them is very different in this case. When using a DAW, you might choose to apply an effect to a specific track with one sound effect playing on it. In this case, I'm selecting snippets of one file to apply effects to. So for example, here I'm applying some saturation and distortion to the transient part of this sound to add a little bit more bite and clarity. In other cases such as this, I applied reverb to the tail section only to extend the length of time it lasts for. Now that I've taken you through some of my processes, here are a few examples of sounds I created using this method. So I hope that gives you an idea of the kind of things that you can achieve using this process. But you might be asking yourself, couldn't I just do all of this using a DAW? And you'd be absolutely correct. You can do pretty much everything I've done here today using a DAW, and much more. But therein lies the point that I'm trying to make. Digital audio workstations offer an often overwhelming level of flexibility, and it's easy to add layer after layer after layer without even thinking about it too much. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to fix problems by adding more, when in reality you should be subtracting things or working with what you have in front of you. And I think that's one of the great things about this process, is that it really helps you to focus on what you have in front of you. You have to make it work because you don't have any other choice. And I think imposing these kind of harsh restrictions on yourself is a great way to unlock new creative perspectives. And that's where the value of this process is for me, unlocking new creative perspectives and techniques that you can take and use elsewhere. So that about wraps it up for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, or if you have any comments or suggestions of topics that I can cover in future episodes, I'd love to hear them. Until next time.